Can you give me the go ahead and it looks like we're live. Okay. So today is March 18th. We are having our JF meeting for the Higher Education Committee. As we open, do we have any starting comments from my co-chair or from ranking members?
Ready to proceed.
I do not have any opening comments. Go ahead, Senator Whitcomb. Yeah.
I'm ready to proceed, Mr. Chair.
Representative?
Let's get after it.
All right, that's my obligation and duty for the day. I'll kick it off to my co-chair, Senator Slapp.
Thank you, Representative Elliott. We'll get to the agenda here. We have a number of items. We have 12 bills for folks who are following it at home here. And we're going to have a number of them on a consent agenda. We'll have, we're going to be holding one, item 8. When we get to that, Senator Whitcomb can comment on that when he wants. And then we have 3 items that will be not on the consent calendar. So that's what it looks like. I just would remind members that have your cameras on, and when we're voting to say representative or senator and your name, and then voting, yes or no. And I think that's the most important thing, and to go a little bit slower than you might normally, so we can make sure that our clerk is able to record your vote properly. And we will be leaving the votes open, and we'll get to that at the end of the meeting. We'll have to determine how long to leave them open for. But I'll begin by asking for a motion to create a consent calendar.
So moved. Roberta Elliott.
15 seconds.
Okay, great. So we are going to be putting, and I'll ask for comment on item number 2, House Bill 6374, an act concerning sexual misconduct on college campuses. I'm going to read them all, and then unless there's any objection, we'll ask for a motion and we'll move those to the consent calendar. Okay, so item 2 is the first one. Senate Bill 932. This is an act concerning an Alliance District Teacher Loan Subsidy Program. House Bill number 5109, an act prohibiting the charging of graduation fees at public institutions of higher education. Senate Bill number 716, an act concerning the Federal Student Loan Borrowers Bill of Rights Act 2019. Number 9, an act requiring training for the members of the Governor's Board of the Institutions of Higher Education in the state. Number 10 is Senate Bill 852, an act concerning the Connecticut Health and Educational Facilities Authority and the Connecticut Higher Education Supplemental Loan Authority. Item number 11, Senate Bill 998, an act concerning compiled financial statements for certain private occupational schools. And item number 12, House Bill 6517.
I'm so sorry to interrupt, but each item should have its own motion to move it to the consent calendar.
Okay, great. No worries. And so I'll just finish this list and then we'll quickly go back to the top. House Bill 6517, an act implementing the recommendations of the task force to analyze the implementation of laws governing dyslexia instruction and training. Okay, so we will go back to the top. Appreciate the comments of our LCO. And if there is no discussion, let me open it up. Is there any discussion on any of these items?
Yes.
Yeah,
Mr. Chairman, I think before you can have discussion on a bill, you have to have a motion to JF it or JFS it. You can't discuss a bill until you've had the motion to do the action.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Okay. Can I have a motion on item number 2, House Bill 6374, to put that on the consent calendar, please?
So moved by Rep. Elliott.
Seconded by Haynes.
Okay.
Well, no, wait, no, we're doing this backwards.
Yeah, I'm sorry. You need a.
Yeah, you do. You put it on the consent after we've had discussion. Yes. So you raise the bill for discussion, and then you have the commentary, and then you can choose to put it on consent.
The first thing would be to make a motion to either JF or JFS the item. Then you can open the item for discussion.
All right, so let's have a motion then on the House Bill 6374 to JF that to the floor.
So moved. Rep. Woods makes a motion to JF. What was the House Bill number? Because that's what we're doing in other committees, is identifying ourselves, saying the House Bill just for the record.
Yep, 6374.
I believe it's a
6374.
JFS and not a
Yeah.
JF.
JFS to the floor, yeah?
JFS, yes, to the
Yep.
floor.
Rep Elliott seconds.
Thank you.
Okay. Is there any comment on this?
I offer it for the consent calendar.
Okay, thank you, Representative. All right, so that was a motion, so we're going to put that on the consent calendar. Are we good? And we'll go on to, okay.
I'll second that motion if we need a second. Yes.
Okay, thank you. All right, item number 3, we have a motion to JFS this to the floor. It's Senate Bill number 932.
An act concerning Alliance District Teacher Loan Subsidy Program.
Yes, thank you. We have a,
So moved by Rep Elliott.
okay,
Seconded by Representative Wood.
great, thank you. Okay, and motion for the consent
Now,
calendar.
Mr. Chairman,
No, any discussion?
yeah, Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
can you
Yeah, hands
remind
raised.
me why we are doing this? My impression is the Alliance teachers aren't making very much different than any other teacher in the Connecticut area.
And just a quick point of order, Co-Chair, I just want to make sure that we're following the hands raised as well.
Oh, okay.
can't see that, but hang on one second. I'll get that on. Thank you for that. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I raised my hand. Thank you. Thank you.
No, I
Mr.
see it. Representative Case, yeah, Representative Zioga. So we'll get to both of you, and I see Senator Haskell too. So great. I got a small screen. I'm trying to do a lot here. So I'm sorry. So Representative Zioga, could you repeat your question?
Yes, I'm just wondering what the intent of the bill was, given the fact that my impression being, and maybe I'm wrong, but the Alliance teachers, those teachers in those districts aren't making very much less money than any other district. And consequently, I wonder why they're getting the benefit of the preference for the loans. Somebody can respond to that.
It's my understanding, and my co-chair can jump in, or staff member, that we're trying to incentivize teachers and recruitment in the Alliance districts, is my understanding. Anyone want to elaborate on that? Representative Elliott, any thoughts?
No, Noreen, can you jump in?
Who's the maker of the motion? Who, I mean, of the bill? Nobody?
And who is
Mr. Chair, I'd be happy to jump in if so appropriate.
Yeah, Senator Haskell.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Representative Ziogas, for your question. The proposal actually came to the committee initially from CHESLA, and it was slightly different in their approach. CHESLA, which is obviously a quasi-public that assists with student loan repayment in the state of Connecticut, is interested in playing a part in addressing the shortage of teachers of color in the state of Connecticut. We know that around 9.6% of educators in Connecticut are people of color. 13% are administrators. However, 47% of Connecticut students are individuals of color. And study after study has shown that having a teacher of color at the front of the classroom can make a tremendous difference for a student, particularly a student of color, but frankly, students of all backgrounds. So the initial intent of this legislation was to create a subsidy program to help recruit and retain more minority teachers. Obviously, there are constitutional provisions that prevent the legislature from doing so. So in a secondary solution would be to recruit more teachers into Alliance districts, which we know serve many minority students in the state of Connecticut. It is an imperfect solution to the problem, but if it has a side benefit of just recruiting teachers of all backgrounds to work in Alliance students, in Alliance districts, I personally would posit that it does quite a bit of good. So I look forward to supporting the bill. And thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Senator Haskell.
Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Case.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Chair. So 2 questions. Where does the money come from?
I'll see if my former co-chair, Senator Haskell, wants to follow up on his description of the program. Senator?
Yeah, I would be happy to. Thank you, Mr. Chair, for the time. And through you, Chesla is obviously a quasi-public agency that is requesting a small amount of bonding to make this program possible. Essentially, SB 932, as I understand it, would give Chesla the ability to provide a loan rate subsidy to Chesla students and refinance loan for educators, including educators of color, that commit to teaching in Connecticut Alliance school districts. This is not incredibly dissimilar to Chesla's other functions. It just offers a little bit more of a subsidy for these teachers that make that commitment. So Chesla already does the programs that are very similar at little to no cost to taxpayers. Happy to dig more into their testimony, but that is my recollection of the bill. I imagine that Mary Beth from OLR could speak more about the funding for Chesla.
First, I have a question and a comment. We've had this program before, and my partner Denise, she is a teacher in an Alliance district. 13 years she's been waiting for her help on her student loans because she was promised it if she went and worked in a certain district that needed help. They would help defray her $120,000 of student loans. To this date, that has not happened. So I don't want to put false things out there and false hope, but I would hope we'd be able to do something for the teachers who have been promised in the past that they would get some sort of help on their tuition, that they were told if they went and studied to be a teacher and they went to a certain district, they would get some help. That has not happened. It's been 13 years and we file for it every year and get denied. So I just want to make that point that this program has been in effect and nobody has been able to fund it or help out these teachers. And $120,000 of student loans on a teacher's salary, isn't that fun?
Thank you, Representative. I do see that Mary Beth Sullivan with OLR may want to, did you want to jump in and give us some context? I see that your hand is up.
Yes, good morning, everyone. So Section 3 of the bill authorizes the State Bond Commission to authorize up to $7 million in bonding per year for the program, to answer Representative Case's question.
Great, thank you.
And so do we do anything for previous teachers or is this all teachers moving forward? We'll put $7 million towards new?
Yes, I would believe this would be a brand new program. So this is not retroactive, it's going forward.
I'd make a motion to take this off consent. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Representative. Okay, we'll come back to item 3. We will go to item 4 then, which is House Bill 5109, an act prohibiting the charging of graduation fees at public institutions of higher education. And we're going to JF that to the floor. Do we have a motion?
So moved by Rep. Elliott.
Seconded.
Okay. Representative Vale, I just see your hand up. I want to acknowledge you.
My only concern, if maybe you can explain, I think we're trying to save graduates money, but is the mandate on, is this just private? Is this just public universities, or would this apply to private universities as well?
I can jump in, Senator, if you'd like.
Sure, Representative, go ahead.
This applies basically only to charter oaks and almost nobody else.
Thank you, Representative. That's a good enough answer. I might have a little concern, but I would support this. Thank you.
You got it.
All right. Any other comments? Otherwise, can I have a motion to move this to the consent calendar?
I'll make that motion, Representative Smith.
Seconded by Rep. Elliott.
Okay. Thank you. So we are going to move on to number 6, I believe. That is Senate Bill 716, an act concerning the Federal Student Loan Borrowers Bill of Rights Act of 2019. JF to the floor. Can I have a motion, please?
So moved by Rep. Elliott.
Second, by Rep. Exum.
Great. Any discussion? Make sure I'm not missing anybody. I don't see any. So can I have a motion to move that to the consent calendar, please?
So moved.
Senator Haskell moved the motion. We have a second.
Second, Representative Smith.
Great, thank you. All right. That is item number 6. We're going to move on to item number 9, Senate Bill 824. An act requiring training for the members of the Governor's Board of the institutions of higher education in the state. This is a JFS to the floor. Can we have a motion, please?
So moved by Rep. Elliott.
Seconded by Rep. Wood.
Great. Any conversation, any discussion on this bill? Okay.
Yes.
I want to make sure I give everyone an opportunity. Okay, seeing none, can I have a motion to move this to the consent calendar?
So moved by Rep. Elliott.
Seconded, Rep. Smith.
All right. Thank you. Moving along here, item number 10. This is Senate Bill 852, an act concerning the Connecticut Health and Educational Facilities Authority and the Connecticut Higher Educational Supplemental Loan Authority. JFS to the floor. Can we have a motion, please?
So moved by Tammy Exum.
Seconded by Rep. Elliott.
Thank you. Any discussion on this Senate Bill 852? Okay. Seeing none, we have a motion for the consent calendar.
There's a consent calendar, Rep. Case.
Thank you, Representative.
Second,
Yes, we need a
Representative.
second. Yeah, okay, Representative Smith, thank you. Okay, item number 11, Senate Bill 998, an act concerning compiled financial statements for certain private occupational schools. This is a JFS to the floor. We have a motion.
So moved.
Okay,
Whitco seconds.
and Senator Whitco seconds. And who was, I'm sorry, I didn't see, who was the representative or senator who made the motion?
The senator in the chat. is-
Maroney.
All right, Madam Clerk, did you get that?
I believe it
all
was
right.
Senator Maroney.
I believe so, yep.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, great. Any conversation about this, Senate Bill 998? All right, if not, can I have a motion to move this to the consent calendar, please?
So moved by Rep. Elliott.
Second, Rep. Smith.
Thank you. And now item number 12, House Bill 6517, an act implementing the recommendations of the task force to analyze the implementation of laws governing dyslexia instruction and training. This is a JFS to appropriations.
Rep.
Can I,
Rep. Wood makes a motion.
thank you, Representative. We have a second.
Haynes, second.
Repeat that. Who is the second?
Haynes,
Okay, thank you, Representative. And Representative Wood, the floor is yours for comment.
Thank you very much. I'm curious why this is going to appropes and not to the floor to then go to appropes. I'd hate to see this get lost in the shuffle.
Yeah, I think the thinking, and my co-chair can jump in, is that the appropriations deadline is still quite a while away. So, you know, there's many committees that are sending similar types of bills to appropriations now. You know, if it was later on, then there might be some danger in not doing that. But that's my thought on that, Representative. I don't know if you want to jump in.
It was also a specific ask by the Chair of Appropriations that we do it this way as well.
And that is a very good answer. Thank you, Representative.
That is adding
that-
some context that I was not aware of. So fair enough. I guess both reasons work, but very good. So.
Okay, no, this is just extremely, I mean, to my mind, this is one of the most important pieces of legislation we need to be doing, passing this year, and holding SDE and the school districts more accountable for identifying, remediating kids with language-related learning disabilities, the impacts to all kids, particularly the kids in the urban districts with the lack of resources and lack of accountability for those resources. We need to do a much better job. And I know there's a bill, I just got word that there's a bill that passed, did it pass out of education yesterday?
No, just a hearing.
It was just a hearing, thank you, 6620, which I guess that now SDE is interested in creating a literacy center. So it's all good, and I look forward to hopefully merging these bills and looking forward to questions and dialogues and making sure this happens. Kids, if the one thing kids need to do is learn to read. And as the saying goes, if you learn to read by 3rd grade and then you read to learn, and we miss kids, and it's not, it's criminal actually, in my humble opinion. So I appreciate the committee's indulgence. And again, I look forward to working on this and moving it forward for success for all kids. So thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Representative. And Representative Elliott.
And so I just want to clarify, we are moving this to the floor and not to appropriations, correct?
No, it says appropriations.
Our agenda calls for it to be moved.
But the motion should be to move it to the floor. That was the ask by the senator, that we move it to the floor and that they eventually take it up because it will get moved there. So I just want to clarify that.
So whoever made the motion to JFS to approps can take back that motion and make a new.
Thank you. That would be me.
Okay.
That's why I asked about the approps, because that wasn't what my recollection.
Thank you for the clarification.
Yeah. So I am making a motion to move House Bill 6517, an act implementing the recommendations of the task force to analyze implementation of laws governing dyslexia instruction and training, to the floor.
So I think Haynes seconded.
Okay, Representative Haynes seconded that.
And Norrin, did we need to recall the first motion?
Right. You can just say you're taking back your first motion and making a new one.
All right, so I'm taking back the first motion and in its place, making the new one, voting out 6517.
Okay, thank you, Representative. Any additional comment on House Bill 6517? Okay, seeing none, can we have a motion to move this to the consent calendar, please?
So moved.
Seconded by Rep. Elliott.
Great, thank you. Okay. So we do have a consent calendar. We can, I don't know, Representative, my coach here, do you have a preference? We could vote on that now and then move on to the other bills. We have 4 bills. We're holding one, and then we have 4 additional bills to vote on.
Let's vote on it right now.
All right, so Madam Clerk, can you call the roll on the consent calendar, please?
Okay, on today's consent calendar, we have item number 2, House Bill 6374, an act concerning sexual misconduct on college campuses. Item number 4, House Bill 5109, an act prohibiting the charging of graduation fees at public institutions of higher education. Item number 6, Senate Bill 716, an act concerning the Federal Student Loan Borrowers Bill of Rights Act of 2019. Item number 9, Senate Bill 824, an act requiring training for the members of the governing boards of the institutions of higher education in the state. Item number 10, Senate Bill 852, an act concerning the Connecticut Health and Educational Facilities Authority and Connecticut Higher Education Supplemental Loan Authority. Item number 11, Senate Bill 998, an act concerning compiled financial statements for certain private occupational schools. And item number 12, House Bill 6517, an act implementing the recommendations of the task force to analyze the implementation of laws governing dyslexia instruction and training. Okay, Representative Elliott,
Representative Elliott votes yes.
Senator Slack,
Senator Slapp votes yes.
Representative Haynes,
Representative Haynes votes yes.
Senator Whitghouse,
Whitcoast votes yes.
Representative Turco,
Representative Turco votes yes.
Senator Flexer,
Senator Flexer votes yes.
Representative Ackert, I guess he's okay. Representative Case,
Representative Case votes yes.
Representative Exum,
Representative Exum votes yes.
Representative Farrar, Representative Haddad,
Representative Haddad votes yes.
Senator Haskell,
Senator Haskell votes yes.
Senator Lopes,
Senator Lopes votes yes.
Senator Maroney,
Senator Maroney votes yes.
Representative Napoli,
Representative Napoli votes yes.
Representative Rochelle,
Representative Rochelle votes yes.
Representative Simmons, Representative Smith,
Representative Smith votes yes.
Representative Stallworth, Representative Vale,
Representative Vale votes yes.
Representative Wood,
Representative Wood votes yes.
Representative Ziogas.
Ziogas votes yes.
Could you say that again, sir? You didn't come up on the screen for me.
Can you hear me now?
I need to see
Ziogas
you.
says yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Let's move on now to, we are going to be leaving votes open. I believe has it been 2 hours usually that this committee's been leaving them open to after the after adjournment?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great.
Yes.
Thank you. So whenever we'll reiterate that at the end, but whenever we finish, we'll plan on doing it for 2 hours for those members who missed this vote. But we're going to go back now for 4 items that were not on consent. First one, House Bill number 6461, an act implementing the recommendations of the task force regarding the prevention and treatment of mental illness at institutions of higher education. Can I have a motion to JFS this to the floor, please?
So moved by Rep. Elliott.
Thank you, Representative.
Second.
Senator Maroney seconding that. Thank you. Are there any comments on House Bill 6461? Senator Whitghouse.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I know that we had some, I think the bill is intent is going in the right direction. There was some concerns about what happens if students are on their parents' medical policies. Would this prohibit the parents from receiving bills or notifications that services are being rendered to their minor children?
I'm sorry, were you asking a question, Senator?
Yeah, that's a question.
Oh, you're asking, are they going to be able to would the parents be notified? I believe that for, either my co-chair or Mary Beth can jump in, but minors would be able to receive treatment for mental health services, and the explanation of benefits would not necessarily detail those services. That's my understanding. And there was a threshold that I think had been at 6 that's being moved as well.
Yeah, and I think that we just had some questions how does it play out in the real world via explanation of benefits. If a parent, say there's a $15 copay for a treatment, and a student goes and is starting to accept treatment for mental health issues on campus, the policyholder gets the bill in the mail for a $15 copay, then makes an inquiry. Are they not told what that's for? I mean, I guess through, it's going to have to say who the patient's name is that is on the policy. So just kind of trying to figure out how does that happen, what happens there in the real world if this were to become law.
Yeah, I think the idea is that for it not to have the disclosure, to have a chilling effect where people would not seek treatment, right, when they need to. So they would correct the bill, but it would not be included in the explanation of benefits. And I hope I'm explaining that adequately. If Representative Elliott, does that sound right to you, or Mary Beth?
Yeah, I would defer to Mary Beth or Noreen.
Jesse, do you want to weigh in on this one, Mr. Bill?
I'm sorry, was there a question? Mary Beth, did you have a question for
Sorry, I didn't realize I was on mute. This is Jesse Callahan from OLR. It will require insurance entities to provide an explanation of benefits to covered individuals for the benefits they receive, and it allows any individual who can legally consent to the services that they receive to select how or when, or how or if they receive the explanation of benefits. So students who don't want their parents to receive the explanation of benefits, that can happen under the bill.
Right. Okay, thank you. Senator Whitcoast, did you have additional comments or questions?
No, I know there's other members of my caucus that have some questions. That's all I had. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you, Senator. Representative Haynes, followed by Representative Vale.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I guess I'll follow up on that through you, Mr. Chairman, to Jesse. I guess I didn't understand the answer. Forgive me. I wasn't going to ask this question, but I'm not sure I understood the answer. So.
Yeah, I believe there to be a waiver, but I'll defer to Jesse. Jesse, go ahead, please. Thank you. Thank you, Representative.
I'm not sure if I'm articulating it correctly. Can I defer to Noreen? Noreen, you mind jumping in?
Sure. It provides that anyone who's not the primary insured on an insurance policy, who's legally capable of consenting to services, can opt to receive the explanation of benefits in any manner for themselves and not have it sent to the primary insured.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for that explanation. Again, I wasn't going to comment on this. My comments are more on the just the act of having mental health treatment for minors. And I guess that's part of the question is that are minors under 18? Are they under 21? What is a minor? And as a parent who ultimately is the primary insured on that policy, if the child is not paying for it, I guess that's a problem as well. So I just don't know if that is going to answer the question in regards to, I guess what you're saying is that the child who's an additional insured on the policy can tell the insurance company not to send the bill home.
That's my understanding, Representative. Yes, correct.
Okay. And then my second point being,
I guess let me just rephrase it, Representative, make sure I'm responding accurately, that the bill would go home, but the explanation of benefits would not necessarily, right, or would not detail what the service was for. Does that sound right, Jesse?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that one more time?
That the primary insurer the person who's primarily insured would have a bill, but the explanation of benefits would be able to, through a waiver, would not necessarily go to the primary insured. Okay.
I just want to clarify that in this section, it's telling the insurance companies what they need to do with the explanation of benefits. It does not address how the provider does the billing, who they should bill to or how they should bill.
And I'd have to, I agree with you on that. I don't know that this bill does what people think this bill does, okay? Being a mom, I've had problems with this bill because of the fact that kids can get medical treatment, which I'm happy to say that I believe in mental health treatment for, especially for kids in college. I have two of my own, so I get this. And I think it's important. To treat these children without consent of parents, that's a problem for me. But I do believe, like I said, the most of the bill, the biggest chunk of the bill, is to establish mental health programs within higher ed institutions, which I think is a good thing. The other part in the bill, besides this billing matter that we've brought up, is they mandate that the higher education institutions hire a grant writer to pay for it. So my question, I guess, too, in regards to the bill is, what is the grant writer obviously getting grants to pay for? Are they paying for the treatment, or are they paying for the administration process of putting together a program?
Thank you, Representative. I can look at the language right here, Jesse. If you have a fast answer, that's great. If not, I can.
The grant writers is the grant writer will identify and apply for grant funding to implement or improve mental health services or programs on campus.
So for the programs, yeah.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. And then is there any clarification as far as when we say minor children or minors, treatment of minors, are minors 21 and younger, or?
I would think 18.
Is there any stipulation in the bill?
I'm looking right now. I don't know, Noreen or Mary Beth, do you see a specific age versus just minor, which is generally referred to as under 18?
I don't believe that section defines minor, but I think in actually, if you could give us a minute to look it up, I just want to make sure I'm giving you the correct answer on this.
Okay, thank you. That's my last question, Mr. Chair. Thank you. And I'll leave it to the rest of our colleagues to ask their questions.
Okay, thank you, Representative. Why don't we, while we're looking for that answer, why don't we acknowledge Representative Vale, and followed by Senator Haskell and then Representative Haddad.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This bill is very unclear. I don't think it's ready to move forward. We actually, and someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but we passed a bill out of insurance, and I know it went through the House last year on explanation of benefits in regards to many different things. And it was in regard to minors and beyond. So it was people under 18 in certain medical situations. We had this debate on the House floor. It did pass out of the House. I don't know if it passed out of the Senate and was signed into law, but it came out of the Insurance Committee. So number one, I'm not sure where this would differ, because it covered all minors, not just minors who are in college. And then that's a sticking point, as Representative Haynes mentioned. A minor is, under 18. So I'm not sure that that's the proper term here, because I think college students, very few college students are under the age of 18, unless they started high school early or whatever the case may be. So that title, I think, is misleading. And I think the definition of minor either needs to be in there or clarified in some way, shape, or form. But it just doesn't seem to me like this bill is ready to go. And I feel like we did this already in insurance last year. Maybe someone could look that up on whether it passed or not. But with those concerns, and I have a few more, but I'm going to let it go. I can see there's a lot of people with their hands raised. I'm going to sit back, but I'm going to vote against this, because I don't think this legislation is ready to move forward. There seems to be a little confusion with it, and I'm not going to be supporting it out of committee today. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. Senator Haskell.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair, and thanks to my colleagues for their insights on this bill. I obviously have a tremendous amount of respect for the ranking member, and I just want to chime in with why I believe this provision is important. You know, there's been a series of unfortunate deaths in one town that I represent, deaths in Wilton. One of them stemmed from a suicide, and the others have been especially trying for young people in that district. They've, as a result, in the midst of trying to deal with a pandemic and learning from home and everything else that's going on in their lives, students have been grappling with that tremendous loss of two of their classmates and one adult who worked in the school system. And in the wake of that tragedy, in the wake of some of the vigils that I attended, one high school student, whose name I won't mention, but an incredibly smart and eloquent high school student, reached out about the 6-session cap, talking about how some of his peers didn't necessarily feel comfortable seeking longer term mental health treatment because they weren't sure that they wanted their parents to know everything that they were going through. I just want to read very briefly from a letter that he sent me, if that's okay with you, Mr. Chair. I'll just keep it to one sentence. As a recent Wilton High School graduate who's familiar with how access to such privileges in our state stacks up to that of others, I've come to understand that while Connecticut has long been a standout model for quality and availability of our mental health services, we can do better. I think that he's right. I think that we can and we should do better. And I would only add that I certainly understand Representative Vail's point that this bill pertains to students who aren't yet on a college campus. But when we convened that task force in 2019 regarding mental health issues on campus, one thing that we heard from students and from professionals and from faculty members is that young people are arriving on college campuses with a host of untreated mental illnesses from their K through 12 experience. And it makes it all that much more challenging for college campuses, public, private, colleges, universities, to address those needs when they've gone unmet in the younger population. So I do view it as one and the same, and I do think it's important to include in this bill. I do look forward to supporting this provision. Obviously, there's been conversations about explanation of benefits in the past. I think the good representative might have been referring to SB 977, which passed this in the Insurance Committee and passed the Senate, but didn't pass the House. I view this as important unfinished business. So I wanted to take a moment to thank the chairs for including this, and I look forward to supporting the bill.
Thank you, Senator Haskell. And Representative Dad, you are next, but with your indulgence, if we could just have Noreen jump in just to clarify a question before, and then we'll go right back to you. So Noreen, thank you.
And I apologize for not knowing this off the top of my head, but when we say minor in statutes, we are referring to people under 18.
Great. Thank you for that clarification. Representative Haddad.
Well, this might be a question for Noreen again, but just so that I understand, when I look at the bill, I'm having trouble finding the word minor in the bill. What I see in the bill in line 152 of the language I think that we're voting on here is that the explanation of benefits shall be issued pursuant to subsection D of the section, a statement disclosing that each consumer who's covered individually and legally capable of consenting to the provision of covered benefits under such policy. And then it goes on to talk about what their choices can be. And so I just wanted to be sure that I think, is that the language that we're looking at when we're trying to determine who is capable of selecting where the explanation of benefits ends up going? Is it this provision that says that they are legally capable of consenting?
That's right. With respect to the explanation of benefits language, it's that whoever's legally capable of consenting. I think the minor consenting to outpatient mental health treatment is referred to in section 7 of the bill, not section 6.
Okay, so let me just say that I support the bill with this provision nonetheless, and really I'm informed and arrive at this opinion after discussing this with mental health professionals who provide service in and around the University of Connecticut. Like Senator Haskell, unfortunately, our community deals quite frequently, all too frequently, with the impact of suicides at the university. Young students who are obviously in need of help, who take their life because they're not getting the help they need. When I talk to providers, especially off campus, there's an off-campus provider who opened an office about 2 years ago, sometime before the pandemic. And in 6 months, developed a full caseload where they were literally overwhelmed with requests from people, students at the University of Connecticut for mental health services. And they told me that one of the primary barriers, when sometimes for a lot of students, is when they first walk through the door, they say, "Are my parents going to find out that I'm here?" They have to say, in all likelihood, under the current law, yes, it's very possible for them to find out you're here. But let's have a conversation with you about how you can talk to your parents about the fact that you're here. Sometimes that works. Oftentimes they just turn around and walk out the door. And we need to prevent that from happening. Mental health professionals will engage with these students to make sure that they are having the conversations with their parents, if only they get the opportunity to have that conversation. And I think it really speaks to the need of being able to provide some degree of confidentiality to young adults as they seek these services. Most, as we're talking about a student population, a college population, most of them are over 18. They are capable of consenting to receive the benefits. And I think that we should, since this bill is obviously intended to reach those students, I think that we ought to pass it as is. And I strongly support my fellow members of this committee to support the legislation as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. Representative Turco, followed by Representative Vale.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to encourage and ask my colleagues to please support this bill today. Even if you believe there are areas of it we need to continue working on before it, pass it through each of the chambers. As Representative Haddad and others have said, Senator Haskell, mental health concerns and problems and suicides is a real threat at our college campuses. We talk about the number of students that drop out, and we don't have as high as a what's the word I'm looking for? With the enrollment with community colleges and in state schools and things like that. Mental health is a factor to that. And now with COVID and everything that our youth have gone through over this past year, it's even more of a concern. And in regard, so we got to do a better job, and I'm proud that this bill has a lot of components in it to help address that and give our universities and colleges more tools, and abilities in addressing that. And as far as the issue with the consent goes, I remember even back to my days in college that there was a friend of mine in the dorm rooms at a university here in Connecticut who was sick from something and did not want his friends to take him to a hospital, to an emergency room, because he was afraid of his parents finding out and him getting in trouble. And so this is real, that students may not seek the support they need for mental health or in other areas because of that relationship with their parents and the fear of that. And then maybe it ends up being too late for them. They weren't able to get help when they needed to. So I think there's an important component to why this language needs to be in this bill. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for allowing me the comments.
Thank you, Representative. Representative Vale.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I normally wouldn't talk twice on this, but I'm a little bit confused by all this. I have two children that are currently in institutes of higher learning, and they don't share any information with me as a parent. One's a sophomore, one's a senior. They have complete privacy. I can't call the school. How's it going? What's this? Unless my kids give them express written consent. So is this strictly about an explanation of benefits? Is that the sole purpose of this bill? Because I'm just confused by this, and when I have a hard time supporting anything that's, to me, is not. I'm going to vote on the bill as it stands right now, not what it's going to be, not what it's intended to be, but how it's written. So if someone could just clarify that for me very briefly, I'll be happy. Thank you.
Representative, are you asking that, are there other components of the bill other than the, this part that we're discussing right now? I just want to make sure I understand your question, sir.
Well, I understand there might be other components, but I don't see the need for this bill other than, no one's telling me anything about my kids now. So where is it in case they have some services done and I get an EOB and then I find out about it and then my kid doesn't want me to know about it? Is that the purpose of the bill?
Well, I would say that's part of the purpose of this section, but the bill has many other components that strengthen mental health services and help students at institutions of higher education. So I think it is goes beyond that one part. I would, and I'm not speaking necessarily to you, Representative, but echo the comments of my colleagues that, I kind of like it as free speech. I think of the argument in terms of that most speech, if you just follow my metaphor for a second, most speech does not need protection because it's not, nobody's trying to silence it. But the speech that does is we do need rules and laws to protect that because, and it's, again, the majority of it is not speech that you need a law to protect. In this case, I think the vast majority of services are not a problem, in terms of the student, the child is going to communicate that to the parent. And the explanation of benefits is not an issue, but it's those times that my colleagues articulated where for some reason, the privacy and confidentiality is really important and that would have a chilling effect if they didn't have that. That's the kind that we're concerned about. And if we don't allow that and address it, the implications can be really serious, as Senator Haskell and others alluded to. But that's my take on it. But I do want to make sure, Representative Vial, I didn't mean to cut you off. If you have additional comments or if anybody else does before we call the roll, I want to make sure everyone has an opportunity to weigh in.
Thank you for your explanation. Again, I can commend the intent, but I'm having trouble with the actual language. So thank you.
Thank you, Representative. Okay, seeing no other comments, I would ask the clerk to call the roll on House Bill 6461. Madam Clerk, thank you.
Representative Elliott,
Representative Elliott votes yes.
Senator Slapp,
Senator Slapp votes yes.
could you say that one more time? You're not up on the screen.
Senator Slapp votes yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Representative Haynes,
Representative Haynes votes yes.
could you say that one more time also? You're not up on my screen.
Representative Haynes votes yes.
Thank you. Senator Whitghouse,
Senator Whitghouse votes yes.
Representative Turco,
Representative Turco votes yes.
Senator Flexer,
Senator Flexer votes yes.
Representative Ackert, Representative Case, Representative Exum,
Representative Exum votes yes.
Representative Farrar,
Representative Farrar votes yes.
Representative Haddad,
Representative Haddad votes yes.
Senator Haskell,
Senator Haskell votes yes.
Senator Lopes,
Senator Lopes votes yes.
Senator Maroney,
Senator Maroney votes yes.
Representative Napoli,
Representative Napoli votes yes.
Representative Rochelle,
Representative Rochelle votes yes.
Representative Simmons, Representative Smith,
Representative Smith votes yes.
Representative Stallworth, Representative Vale,
Representative Vale votes no.
Representative Wood,
Representative Wood votes yes.
Representative Ziogas.
Ziogas votes yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. As a reminder, votes will be held open 2 hours after we go into recess. Okay, so next on our agenda is item number 3, Senate Bill 932, an act concerning an Alliance District Teacher Loan Subsidy Program. This is JFS to the floor. Can I have a motion, please?
So moved by Representative Elliott.
Second by Representative Smith.
Thank you. Any comments? No? Okay. Seeing none, Madam Clerk, can you call the roll, please, for Senate Bill number 932?
Representative Elliott,
Representative Elliott votes yes.
could you say that one more time, sir? You didn't come up on my
Okay.
screen.
Representative Elliott votes yes.
Thank you. Senator Slapp,
Senator Slapp votes yes.
Representative Haynes,
Representative Haynes votes yes.
Senator Whitgos,
Senator Whitcomb votes yes.
Representative Turco,
Representative Turco votes yes.
Senator Flexer,
Senator Flexer votes yes.
Representative Ackert, Representative Case, Representative Exum,
Representative Exum votes yes.
Representative Farrar,
Representative Farrar votes yes.
Representative Haddad,
Representative Haddad votes yes.
Senator Haskell,
Senator Haskell votes yes.
Senator Lopes,
Senator Lopes votes yes.
Senator Maroney,
Senator Maroney votes yes.
Representative Napoli, Representative Rochelle,
Representative Rochelle votes yes.
Representative Simmons, Representative Smith,
Representative Smith votes yes.
Representative Stallworth, Representative Vale,
Representative Vale votes no.
Representative Wood,
Representative Wood votes yes.
Representative Ziogas.
Ziogas votes yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. On to item number 5, Senate Bill 652, an act establishing a tax credit for donations to the Roberta B. Willis Scholarship Program. This is a JFS to the floor. Can I have a motion, please?
So moved by
Second.
Senator Maroney.
Great. And a second by, I believe, Representative Elliott?
Correct.
Great, thank you. Any discussion on Senate Bill 652? I see Representative Wood followed by, oh no, I got a whole bunch. Okay, Representative Ziogas, Representative Vale, and Representative Turco. Representative Wood, the floor is yours.
Thank you. And I'm curious, I remember when this was supposed to be funded a couple of years ago through an appropriation in the state budget. Why did that not happen? And why would this not go to finance instead of to the floor?
Representative Wood, are you asking why a few years ago there wasn't additional money appropriated for the Roberta Willis Scholarship Program?
Right. Well, my understanding is historically there was a tax credit program for scholarships for higher education. Then they named it the Roberta Willis Scholarship as a thank you for her service in Hartford as a state legislator.
Right.
And that was 4 or 5 years ago, and it's never been funded. So if you could give me a little more history on how this came about, that it's now a tax credit program. And second to that is, I would think it's going to have to go to finance.
Yeah, now I can't walk you through the history of the funding. I would say, I mean, this is I mean, as you mentioned, a tax credit where there would be a certain amount deducted, I believe, once money was donated to the scholarship fund. And I believe Senator Maroney on the call still. I believe this is one of his initiatives. I don't know if he wants to opine on this. I don't see him. Otherwise, I would ask. But so your let me ask Noreen, then, our LCO attorney, in terms of which committee we're sending this to and why the one we selected makes the most sense, Noreen.
Well, currently the motion is to send it to the floor. Since it is a tax credit, I can only assume that it would most likely go from the floor to finance. And to clarify about the Roberta Willis Scholarship Program, it is in existence. It does get an annual appropriation each year.
Thank you, Noreen. And what is that annual appropriation, just for a point of perspective?
I apologize. I'm not the best person to speak to that.
I know, and it's a lot of detail. I don't mean to put whatever. Thank you.
That's all right. Let me, with Representative Ziogis's indulgence here, Representative Turco, I think Representative Haddad, our former chair, probably knows that right off the top of his head. Representative Haddad, you want to jump in here?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. I don't want to jump again too much on the rest of my remarks, and maybe I won't say anything anymore after I finish here anyways, but the Roberta Willis Scholarship is currently funded at about $33 million a year in the state budget. That is consistent with what we've done for several past years. It is much less than what the state had historically provided for scholarships previous to the establishment of the Roberta Willis Scholarship. It had been called the Governor's Scholarship. Prior to that, it had been 2 different or 3 different programs called KICS and CAPS. And I think it was called the Charter Oak Scholarship. There are 3 line items, and when back in the day when those were robust, the funding was near, I think, twice as much as what it is now. So I support the idea of creating a tax credit to encourage individuals to supply money that can be distributed in scholarships, but I don't think it's a great substitute for state appropriation of dollars for this, I think, much needed purpose. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Representative. Representative Zaiogis. Oh, I'm sorry. You know what? Let me just make sure. I apologize, Representative. That Representative Wood had her questions answered and didn't have any more comments.
Well, thank you, Representative Haddad. That was great information. And my only other thought is there is a bill before finance right now that would allow tax credits to any scholarship granting organizations. And I know the bill is in the process of defining what the limit might be and some parameters around that. So it's going to be a little confusing now that this might be a tax credit program. I think given Representative Willis's service to the state, I believe it should be funded on the state level and not made into a tax credit program. I think it's going to get very complicated. So I will listen to the rest of the questions and add anything further if needed. But thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Representative. Representative Zaiogis.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. My concern are those that have been already voiced. I'm not sure I do appreciate the goals of what they're trying to establish and what the intent is of the legislation, but I don't agree with the funding mechanism. I think it's better done through the state budget as opposed to encouraging it through tax credits. It misappropriates, or it can at least lead certain donors to certain conclusions at the expense of the state budget. And I'm not necessarily happy about that. I'd rather have it expressly done through the budget. In addition to which, I think it should go through finance directly as opposed to a referral from the general fund. And then there's another item in there for $100,000 for administration fees that I was unclear about as to why that exists and how what is the cost of administration of the fund to date. And so my concerns are such that I'm not inclined to say yes on this today.
All right, thank you, Representative. Representative Vale.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So this would be a revenue loss as opposed to a tax, correct? Because a tax revenue loss, correct?
I'm sorry, I'm not understanding your question. You're saying that because, well, go ahead.
If we're going to move forward with this, people get tax credit, they're not going to be paying in as much as they would otherwise. So it would be considered a net revenue loss on the tax and not as opposed to a tax.
Correct.
All right. And so my concerns, and I'm sure the concerns of both Representatives Iogus and Wood, it's going to be hard for them to judge how many people are going to participate in this. There's no way to know if, people are going to donate, $100 million to this fund, and they get a tax credit up to $60,000 per person, whatever the case may be. It's impossible to calculate that revenue loss, and it's going to be making much more difficult to try to balance the budget that way. And I agree that if we want to put more money into this, we should just do it directly. I think it's well intended and maybe looking at a different approach, but I think we're going to have a lot of trouble with this. And I don't think I'll be able to support it moving forward. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Representative. Representative Turco.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, I'm really excited to see my colleagues agree that we need to put more money into the Roberta Willis scholarship program. So thank you, Representatives Iogus and Representative Vale and Representative Wood for saying that, because I firmly agree with that. As Representative Haddad has stated, we used to fund this scholarship fund 60 million plus, and we're down to 33 million. That's a lot of funding within higher education that we fund a lot less at levels than we used to do. And our students are bearing that cost, and a lot of them are doing it in, tens of thousands of dollars of student loans, unfortunately, making us one of the worst state in the nation for the amount of student loans that individuals have. So I will be fighting in the Appropriations Committee and as a member of the Appropriations Subcommittee for Higher Education for putting more money in the Roberta Willis scholarship program. We heard from students that testified in our subcommittee meeting a few weeks ago from private universities throughout the state and from some public universities saying that if this scholarship fund, this extra money didn't exist, it may not have made going to a private university here in Connecticut affordable, and instead they would have went to a private university outside of the state of Connecticut. And by doing so, if they went to a private university, let's say in New York or Massachusetts or California or somewhere down south where the weather is a lot nicer, the odds of us getting them back here after they graduate to work here would be a lot more difficult for us. We already have difficulty with our college graduates after they receive their bachelor's degree or master's degree here in the state of Connecticut for staying here and working here. We lose a lot of them. We have a lot of that youth brain drain. So we want to make sure they go to college here and then hopefully stay and work here. So this money that we give to the institutions to be able to help offset their tuition is so valuable. So this bill, I think you're all right, everyone that stated, this bill, the money that we could collect for a tax credit to help provide more funding to this scholarship fund should not in any way be a replacement or a lack of effort in trying to boost our state budget in this area. I think the intent of this, and Senator Maroney, I think, was the original individual that brought this bill to us a couple of years ago when I first came on this committee. The intent of this is to try to get additional private dollars into the funds. So have individuals, maybe corporations, when they're thinking about where should I make my tax donations? And some people make tax donations based on, where they can get a tax write-off. And when that decision's being done for the Roberta Willis Scholarship Foundation to be looked at, to say, you know what, I'm going to put $1,000 donation into that to help our youth not have student loans, be able to afford to go to college here in Connecticut, versus maybe giving that donation to another charity. And it helps our students out. It helps the Scholarship Foundation out, and it helps with the goal that we're trying to do in making college more affordable for these individuals. So that's just what I wanted to state here, is that yes, let's all fight together for more money from the state budget in the Roberta Willis Scholarship Foundation. But if we can pass this bill and help leverage more private dollars, I think that could aid to the overall goal that we're trying to do. So thank you, Mr. Chairman, for giving me the opportunity to speak in favor of this bill, and I hope my colleagues will support it.
Thank you, Representative. And I would note in section 2, there's substitute language that requires state appropriated scholarship funds. I see to lapse in the same amount as donations received, rather than reducing the amount of state appropriations to match the amount of donations received. So I thought that'd be important to note. Senator Haskell.
Thanks so much, Mr. Chair. I raised my hand primarily because Senator Maroney, the proponent of the legislation, has had some technical difficulties raising his hand. So I do want to cede the floor to him because he will be able to explain this legislation far more eloquently than I can. But really quickly, before I hand it over, I just want to reiterate what Representative Haddad said. In 2009, we appropriated $62 million. Stands around $33 million. I think that this legislation is going to have actually no fiscal note. Of course, we'll see once it reaches, if it were to reach the floor, but it includes an offset of expenses. And I will now cede to Senator Maroney to explain with greater detail, since he is the proponent of the bill. If that's okay with you, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Thank you, Senator Maroney. Good to have you join us.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Senator Haskell. I do apologize. I've had technical difficulties, and I've been out 3 times, so I did miss some of what was said before. I do want to thank Representative Turco for his comments. I did want to go back. I believe that Representative Wood had raised a past program. I believe at one time in the past, there was a program for donations to the Yukon Foundation that if our rainy day fund had reached a certain amount, it was supposed to be matched. That I'm not sure if that is still on the record, but this proposal is intended, as Senator Haskell noted, to increase the amount of funds available. Back in 2009, as he stated, there were $62 million in appropriation. There are currently $33 million in appropriation. So this is a way to try to creatively increase the amount of scholarship money we have. The lapse you see is so we can avoid giving this a fiscal note. And so we are patterning this after the Neighborhood Assistance Act and capping the amount of tax credit that we can give in a year, and taking advantage of the fact that the tax year and the academic year do not necessarily coincide, so that we can collect donations, know how much we've collected, and then that would replace. So whatever we give in the tax credit, so whatever we're losing, we offset by what would have been appropriated in the second half. So disbursements are typically done in the fall and in the spring. I mean, February for the spring disbursement. So we would collect up through December 31st, know how much money we had, and that would replace. And then the additional money, we would know how much additional we had to add on to the appropriation for the following year, again, to give more predictability to the schools. I thank our LCO, Noreen, for working with me on this, and I would ask people to support this. And then, I'll be willing to work with you to clarify the language so it does what it's intended. Again, by giving a 40% credit, capping it at $16 million in the first year, again, because we're only going to have half the year of disbursement to replace. That would be approximately $40 million in donations that we would receive to give $16 million in credit, which would generate an additional $24 million in scholarship money, right, if we had already appropriated the $16 million. And then if we maxed out in the future years at a $32 million cap per year, then we would have $80 million into the Roberta Willis Scholarship Fund. The reason for administration is that you will need to certify with the Office of Higher Education. Currently, for the Neighborhood Assistance Act, you certify through the Department of Revenue Services. But since this money will be collected in a non-lapsing fund through the Office of Higher Education, we wanted to make sure that if they did have any expenses related to certifying donations, so again, meaning someone would have to let them know their intended donation, and we'd have to let them know we hadn't hit the cap in that year. And that's what it is for the certification. So we just wanted to make sure that we would offset any potential fiscal note for them as well. So thank you again to the chairs for raising this concept, and thank you for the opportunity to speak on it. I would ask my colleagues to support this and look forward to working with you to bring this forward to generate more scholarship money for our students.
Thank you, Senator, for your creative and innovative approach. Representative Wood.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to understand, I thought the Roberta Willis Scholarship Program was for in-state public universities only. And I think someone mentioned that that was not the case, that you could use it at private universities, and that, yeah, Representative Turco. Do we know that for a fact? I don't know. I'm only asking. My understanding was it was for state universities and UConn only.
Let me double check. I don't believe that's the case, but let me just confirm. Mary Beth with OLR can jump in.
Yes, they can be used at private colleges and universities as well.
Okay, thank you. Wow. I have significant issue with that, using taxpayer dollars to go to private institutions when there's a number of very well-run scholarship programs out there. Different foundations handle scholarships, local community organizations handle private scholarships. I believe if we're using state funds, it should be restricted to state universities, whether it's the state university system or UConn, even our community colleges. I don't believe it's right to be funding private colleges with state dollars. I am definitely voting no on this. I think it's also for the reason that it's going to be very confusing to have two different revenue streams, a tax credit program, and somebody has to understand how that works, along with state appropriated funds. I think we're commingling funds. I think it's going to be very confusing, and I don't think it's the right way to go. So I will definitely be voting no on this for those reasons. Thank you. But I also want to, I do support funding to the level at which it was funded before. So thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you, Representative. Representative Haddad.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to clarify just one thing, and that is, while the Roberta Willis Scholarship can be used at private universities and colleges, they also have to be located in Connecticut. We can't take a Roberta Willis Scholarship out of Connecticut. And the Roberta Willis Scholarship, I think, is intended to try to help us achieve a couple of goals. One is to make sure that our best and brightest students, despite their need, can afford and are encouraged to stay here in the state of Connecticut to pursue their higher education. We know that's the best opportunity that we have to keep their talent here in Connecticut. Secondarily, I would just say that when you look at the strategic plan for higher education, which I occasionally pull out and have multiple copies in my office, would be happy to share with everybody. It talks about how we're really facing a dearth of talent to meet our employment needs. We need to increase the number of students who can attain a post-secondary degree pretty substantially over the next few years in order to meet our employers' needs and our state's economic needs. We can't do that alone just through our public universities. And in fact, this is the only significant support that private universities get from the state in terms of a subsidy. I think the total dollar amount of the 33 million amounts to less than 6 million of it goes to private universities. I know that they value it quite a bit. That number has come down quite a bit over the years, but I actually think that it's money well spent when you consider the goal of keeping students in the state of Connecticut and building a pipeline for our employers here in the state of Connecticut, which can only be accomplished if we utilize and leverage the power of our private universities as well. So I encourage folks to support the bill, and more importantly, to look out for the Roberta Willis Scholarship in our appropriations budget as well. I think that it deserves some additional support. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Representative. And, I would associate my remarks with you in terms of, and I think actually, broad bipartisan support for looking at additional ways to increase the funding for the Roberta Scholarship Program in the budget. I know I am, joining the committee midstream here at best, but I hope that we can make it a bipartisan priority going forward in subsequent legislative sessions. And the only thing I would add, Representative, is that I met not so long ago with the president of St. Joe's, and they did talk about here in West Hartford, but talk about, they did talk about the Roberta Willis Scholarship Program, and they do a lot with training nurses and training folks who are going to stay here and build careers here. And so there's a lot of private schools, not to be confused with for-profit, but private schools where, this really comes in handy for the students who are struggling to graduate. So I do see Representative Smith with his hand up. Representative.
Yes, just a quick editorial comment, and just I want to report, I think I saw Senator Maroney wave his hand on my screen, so he might have an additional comment. But as somebody who, when I was 18 coming out of high school, was on welfare and was trying to go to college with very little funds, I did receive a scholarship from the state of Connecticut. And it was one that followed me no matter what school I went to. Now, I understand that this one specifically stays within the state, but I went out of state initially and then came back and finished in state. And I just would like to say that I think most people who graduate from high school and look to go on to college don't necessarily have plans at the age of 18 that they're going to move away from the state unless they've set the goal, I want to work for NASA or some very specific career goal, and they are like driven to that. I think most of the time people are like me. They don't really know where their career is going to take them. They're just looking for an opportunity to go to school. And I can speak for myself and tell you that whether I finished in Washington, D.C. or in Connecticut as I did, my heart was in Connecticut and I was going to work and live here. And I have my whole life. And I think most people feel that way about the place they grew up. And unless there's some great opportunity that calls them away, their instincts generally are to stay where they grew up. So I'm very grateful for having had a scholarship. It kept me in school. It got me back into school after I left. And I was really, the fact that it followed me where I went was something that I'll never forget. And I'm very grateful to the state for that. I'm going to support this bill. And I just did want to point out that I did see Senator Maroney waving his hand. Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Representative, for sharing your story and your comments. Senator Maroney, are you waving your hands? Would you like to speak?
Yeah. Yes, Mr. Chair, thank you for recognizing me for the second time, and thank you to my colleague, Representative Smith, for recognizing my frantic hand waving and pointing that out. I just wanted to point out or actually echo Representative Haddad's sentiments that our private colleges are critical to our state, producing almost half of our bachelor's degrees come from our private universities, and that the Roberta Willis is an existing scholarship program. So voting for or against this proposal does not impact the fact that we do give scholarships to our private universities. Also, it's patterned after an existing tax credit program that we've already been doing through the Neighborhood Assistance Act. So we do have experience with handling these types of donations. But then further, just to go back to what Representative Haddad had pointed out, in that our state strategic plan, and it requires that by 2025, or it says that by 2025, over 70% of the occupations in Connecticut are going to require post-secondary education. And the Roberta Willis Scholarship actually can be used for part-time study. And I think that's important to point out because a lot of people who may be going back to upskill or reskill will be going to community college potentially part-time while they're working full-time. And this is a way that can assist them to do that. So, Mr. Chair, I thank you for recognizing me for the second time. And again, I encourage all of my colleagues to support this proposal, and I look forward to working with you all to make it better.
Thank you, Senator Maroney. Any other comments? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Representative Elliott,
Representative Elliott votes yes.
could you say that one more time, sir? You didn't come up on the screen?
Representative Elliott votes yes.
Thank you. Senator Slapp,
Senator Slapp votes yes.
Representative Haynes,
Representative Haynes votes yes.
Senator Whitgos,
Senator Whitcos votes yes.
Representative Turco,
Representative Turco votes yes.
Senator Flexer,
Senator Flexer votes yes.
Representative Ackert, Representative Case,
Representative Case votes no.
Representative Exum,
Representative Exum votes yes.
Representative Farrar,
Representative Farrar votes yes.
Representative Haddad,
Representative Haddad votes yes.
Senator Haskell,
Senator Haskell votes yes.
Senator Lopes,
Senator Lopes votes yes.
Senator Maroney,
Senator Maroney votes yes.
Representative Napoli, Representative Rochelle,
Representative Rochelle votes yes.
Representative Simmons, Representative Smith,
Representative Smith votes yes.
Representative Stallworth, Representative Vale,
Representative Bale votes no.
Representative Wood,
Representative Wood votes no.
Representative Ziogas.
Diogus votes no.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Okay, we have one more bill we're going to be acting on here. It is House Bill 5666, an act concerning grants to distressed municipalities for the training of volunteer firefighters. This is a JF to the floor. Can I have a motion, please?
Motion, Rep. Rochelle.
Thank you, Representative.
Second, Representative Exum.
Representative Exum with the second. Any comments? Representative Case.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Question. So a grant of $70,000, but why is we just cutting out this to distressed municipalities? All municipalities are having trouble getting volunteer firemen. All. And there's only a certain few, like maybe 24 or 25, that are in statute as distressed. Everybody's having trouble. I'm wondering why we're just singling out and allowing certain people to get this. Through you, Mr. Chair. You're on mute.
Senator-
Mr. Chair, you're on mute.
We're on mute.
I'm sorry. Thank you. I knew that was going to happen at least once this meeting. It's my understanding that distressed municipalities have a particularly challenging time, not to dismiss your point, Representative, that I think especially now, many municipalities have a challenging time recruiting volunteer firefighters. I don't know if my co-chair wants to add anything to that or any kind of context in terms of the origin of the bill. I do see, and we'll get back to you if somebody does. Representative Rochelle, do you want to jump in?
Sure, I introduced this bill, so I'm happy to address that.
Sure.
So I think that I share the sentiment that I wish that we could afford as a state to fund Fire One for every firefighter in the state of Connecticut. This is a modest step forward to acknowledge that we have a problem with recruiting volunteers in particular, and specifically, while some departments can afford to send as many as are
willing to go to Fire One training other towns cannot afford to send as many as they would like to Fire One training. And so this is a step to open the door and start a program. We heard in testimony that there are issues where these distressed municipality departments that have volunteers aren't able to afford to send as many of their firefighters to the upper level training because most of their budget is eaten up by Fire One training. And that creates a problem where we have towns that get a lower fire rating, all residents in the town have higher insurance rates as a result. So this has a cascading effect. And I would love to see us fund for all Fire One in the state. This is a modest step to start the process, particularly for towns who are not only struggling to recruit, as every town is, but are also struggling to afford to train the recruits that they may be able to get.
Thank you, Representative Rochelle. Senator Witkos.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. No question, but just a comment to my colleagues, especially those that serve on the Appropriations Subcommittee for Higher Education. You know, I said during the public hearing, in case members weren't on it, that years ago under Speaker Amon, we had a budget line item that appropriated $1,000 to any community that sent a firefighter to Firefighter One training. So it was available to all 169 communities in our state. And for some reason, throughout the years, I guess that line item was defunded. And I don't even know if it exists anymore, but I would urge the members on the Appropriations Subcommittee for Higher Education, when you're deliberating on the budget, that you look into that and move towards putting money into that account or that line item, in addition to passing this bill today that'll address the members' concerns. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator Witkos. Representative Case.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I understand that and I get it, but if you talk about $70,000, that's 46 firefighters. My town alone is down 36 firefighters that they're trying to get into school. And that's just one town of 10,000 people. And I have 3 other towns that have fire departments that need to get people into school. So we're talking 46 people if the class is at $1,500. I would like to see an amendment on this bill that it takes out distressed municipalities to allow for all. And given the budget, I don't know where we're going to have it, but this is a public safety thing. It'll probably get shifted if leadership decides to over to public safety, because it really should be in their realm, because the fire schools are under their realm through DIS also. But I would really like to entertain, if we can, an amendment to take out the distressed municipalities part, because we have to think about the whole state and everybody who's trying to get into firefighter training school, because we have such a need. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
I'm sorry. Thank you, Representative. I just want to make sure I understand. You're suggesting an amendment on the floor and not now, correct?
You can do it now, or I will do it on the floor, just not to restrict.
Yeah, no, I would appreciate. I don't generally want to do amendments on the fly here, you know, and so, but let me bring in Representative Rochelle. I know she's the main proponent of the bill, but I think I would gather that maybe we want to continue the conversation after we JF this bill now. But Representative Rochelle.
Yeah, I encourage my colleagues that could have reached out to me over the past few weeks or a couple of months to do so. I'm happy to talk with people about this bill. The average cost of a Fire One class is not $1,500; it's $1,200, and that's per the state fire commissioner. So you're welcome to speak with him if you are concerned about the pricing on this. And the point of this is 15 towns, both Democratic and Republican towns, both urban and rural towns, that are having the most trouble affording the Fire One training. And those towns we reached out to personally and said, how many people are you sending per year? On average, Fire One specific and sole training is about 3 to 5 people per year. And that speaks to both the problem with getting folks to go to Fire One training in these distressed municipalities, and also the need to make sure that we're properly funding them. Now, if we were to expand this out to the entire state, I would love to. But there's the reality of the fiscal note. And so I would like to start here and would encourage colleagues to, I wish somebody had put in a bill for Fire One for the entire state. Rep Case, maybe you can do that next year.
Thank you, Representative Vale, followed by Representative Case.
I just want to, thank you, Mr. Chairman. A few comments. I agree with Representative Case. Representative Case represents more rural district with some big towns, as do I. I represent Stafford and Somers. And Stafford in particular is the third largest town in the state in land mass. And so we have 3 departments, well, maybe 2 departments, 3 actual stations to cover, because it takes like almost 20 minutes to get from one part of the town to the other. And we've always struggled with recruitment now too with that. And maybe we're not technically a distressed municipality, but we're definitely, on tough times. So I hear Representative Case's concern. I think it should be expanded beyond that. And I'll sit back and listen to more comment, but I wanted to make that statement. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. Representative Case?
Thank you. And, it's not a debate. It's about our firefighters. And Rep. Shaw, I agree with your point, but when you move it to 1,200, so we get 58 people in. Our classes in the Northwest Training School, which is right down the street, we do 3 classes. I'm talking to the person right now, 3 classes per year and 25 people per class. So and they're booked solid. So it's 75 people a year just out of the training school in Burville, Connecticut. And they can't get enough people. That's what they have right now. The issue that I have over the years, we just built a $13 million fire school. The state's not giving any money for maintenance for the fire school. So we have so many issues with funding. I'd love to see this championed through appropriations, because we have been fighting this, especially we have a few more to be built and we can't get the dollars to build them. But our towns and our municipalities need the firefighters. I'm a champion for it. I want to go forward with it. The biggest problem I have, and I will be voting no just to flag it, I will vote for if there's a change on the floor. I don't think we should be putting stuff out for this type of a magnitude and restricting to just certain municipalities. It needs to be open to all. And I'll leave it at that. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Representative. Representative Rochelle.
Sure, and I can appreciate the sentiment. Rep. Case may not be aware, but I'm actually the daughter of the emergency response coordinator for all of New Haven County. I was raised in a fire family, and I've been a fierce advocate for constructing the Valley Fire School, which currently doesn't have a physical building. And so all of my friends are volunteer firefighters. They're like family to me. With this specific bill, there's 15 towns that are classified by DECD as in the economic distress list that also have volunteer communities. It's Ansonia, Chaplin, Derby, East Haven, Griswold, Montville, Norwich, Preston, Putnam, Sprague, Torrington, Voluntown, West Haven, Winchester, and Wyndham. Those are the towns, and the funding would not go directly to the fire schools just for keeping this organized. It would be dispersed probably by the state fire administrator and go directly to the volunteer departments themselves. The purpose of this is we have keeping things organized, and also this is a separate issue from the funding of the volunteer departments. There is a bill in insurance right now. We're having a public hearing as we speak about potentially putting finding a different funding revenue stream for the operation of the schools. So this has to do, while yes, the funding would be spent on the volunteer fire schools, making sure that state funding is being used for state assets and that where people are getting the high level of training that we get at the regional fire schools. This is really to make sure that those towns, while every town struggles with getting volunteers, those towns who can least afford to even pay for their volunteers, and in communities where people cannot afford to send themselves to fire training, we're starting the modest process of getting folks to the schools. We really can't wait on this, and I'd love to have that discussion further. You're welcome to give me a call, but I don't think that we can really wait on workforce development training. This is a workforce issue. We have 22,000 volunteers in the state, and I don't know of any other workforce that works for free in the state, especially not one this large.
Thank you, Representative Rochelle. Great. I would urge my colleagues to vote in favor, and we can continue the conversation. I think some wonderful points were made, and hopefully that dialogue can continue about how we support our volunteer firefighters. So seeing no other comments, I would ask, I'm just giving folks one last minute here. I would ask that, Madam Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Representative Elliott,
Representative Elliott votes yes.
would you say that one more time? You didn't come up on my screen, sir.
Representative Elliott votes yes.
Thank you. Senator Slapp,
Senator Slapp votes yes.
Representative Haynes,
Representative Haynes votes yes.
Senator Whitgos,
Whitcos votes yes.
Representative Turco,
Representative Turco votes yes.
Senator Flexer,
Senator Flexer votes yes.
Representative Ackert, Representative Case,
Representative Case votes yes for an amendment on the floor too.
I can only take this vote, sir.
Yes, Representative Case votes yes to get it out of
Thank you.
committee.
Representative Exum,
Representative Exum votes yes.
Representative Farrar,
Representative Farrar votes yes.
Representative Haddad,
Representative Haddad votes yes.
Senator Haskell,
Senator Haskell votes yes.
Senator Lopes.
Senator Lopes votes yes. If I can.
Oh, there you go. Thank you. Senator Maroney,
Senator Maroney votes yes.
Representative Napoli,
Representative Napoli votes yes.
Representative Rochelle,
Representative Rochelle votes yes.
Representative Simmons, Representative Smith,
Representative Smith votes yes.
Representative Stallworth,
Representative Stallworth votes yes.
Representative Vale,
Representative Dale votes no.
Representative Wood, Representative Ziogas.
Ziogas says yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. We have one more item on the agenda that we're going to be holding. Senator Whitcos, do you want to comment on that?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you to the leadership of the committee and for the committee members' cognizance. I asked the chairs to hold item number 8, House Bill 6235. I think the underlying intent was good, but I think the way the bill was drafted was not intentional. And I think we need to have a further conversation with the individual that had proposed the bill. As you may recall, we did have the Learn Here, Live Here program where if a student went to college in Connecticut, either a public or private institution or a career or technical school, and then they stayed here in Connecticut, they could save money tax-free to buy their first home. This bill that is proposed before us today that I asked to be held eliminates that program and basically says we're going to replace the Learn Here, Live Here program with the Learn Here, Heal Here program. And it's only applicable to those that graduate from a medical school. It takes out the regular colleges, the technical colleges, the career programs, and says, and it's only if you're entering into a practice of psychiatry and any other medical program where the participants are on Husky, et cetera. So that drastically changes, I think, what we as a body in the legislature adopted a few years ago to stop the brain drain, and is very limited now to really the students that would be the brightest and the best of the best, and takes out the hardworking middle class students, the ones that are going to go to career, go right into a career and working in a business. And I don't think that was the intent of what we wanted to accomplish here in the Higher Ed Committee. So I asked the chairs to hold it until we can investigate a little bit further, and that was the reason why. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator Whitcos. Any other comments from my co-chair or ranking members before we stand in recess?
No, we've got one more meeting left. Good work, co-chair.
Thank you, Representative. Okay, seeing none, we are going to stand in recess for 2 hours and leave the votes open until 3:45. All right, thank you very much. Have a good rest of your day.
Have a great day, everybody. Bye.
Thank you, everybody.
Representative Case and Representative Stallworth, I need some votes from you, please.
Why I'm hanging out for you.
Hang on.
Thank you.
Oh, Representative Farrar, are you still here? I'll have to get her back.
Jeannie, may I vote?
Okay, hang on.
Please.
Okay, Representative Wood? Or,
Fire training, I'm a yes.
oh, okay.
Thank
You know
you.
which one it is. Thank you. And Representative
you all.
Case
Have a
missed
good day.
something. Thank you. Okay, Representative Case, are you still here?
Yep.
Okay, Representative Case, on House Bill 6461, an act implementing the recommendations of the task force regarding the prevention and treatment of mental illness at institutions of higher education.
Representative Case, the no.
No? Okay, thank you.
No.
Hang on, let me just check to make sure.
I have a couple that I missed.
Yep. And Senate Bill 932, an act concerning an Alliance District Teacher Loan Subsidy Program.
Representative Case is a no.
Okay, you got 6562. Got this one.
I think that's all, Jeannie.
And you got the consent count. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day.
You too, thanks. Representative Stallworth? Are you with me?
Yes.
Okay. How about on the consent calendar? Would you care to vote on that?
Representative Stallworth votes yes.
Thank you. I appreciate that very much. Now, let's see. We got that one. All my papers have gotten turned around. That one's held. We don't need that one. Stallworth. Okay, let's see. This is 6461, an act implementing the recommendations of the task force regarding the prevention and treatment of mental illness at institutions of higher education.
Representative Stallworth, yes.
Thank you. And next we have Senate Bill 932, an act concerning an Alliance District Teacher Loan Subsidy Program.
Representative Stallworth, yes.
Thank you. And last one, let's see. 652, an act establishing a tax credit for donations to the Roberta B. Willis Scholarship Program.
Representative Stallworth votes yes.
Okay, thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Oh, Representative
Jeannie, I
Farrar's
think I
back.
missed something.
Yeah, hey Jeannie, did I miss the first thing? I
Yes,
think.
hang on, let me,
I was testifying in insurance where I think.
Oh, did we both we missed each other then?
Yeah.
I was coming over here, you were over there.
oh, you missed the consent calendar, Representative Farrar.
Yes, so please put me in the affirmative.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Representative Turco.
Okay, so Simmons. Representative Turco's in there. Hang on, Representative Turco, let me just make sure. Looks like I've got you for everything for Representative Turco.
Okay, I didn't miss the consent calendar.
Oh, wait a minute, I didn't look over there. Hang on, let me back up. No, you got that.
I got everything.
Yeah. Yep.
All right, because we started the meeting, I went over the insurance, but maybe by the time I came back.
Yeah, we had a little fun in the beginning of the meeting. It took a minute to get organized.
Okay. So I was okay then. Now.
So you're okay.
I'm getting texts. We're going to start screening now. Is there a link for that?
Well, no, we can't start screening until 2 hours.
Oh, okay, because Derek asked that and then Irene said, no, we can start whenever we want, but that's not true.
That's no. Okay, Jeremy and Ian, you can take off now. Thank you.
Okay.
Am I all set?
Bye.
Hang on, Senator Lopes. Let me just make sure. Seeing how I've got you here for just a second. Oops. Lopes, you're all set, sir. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Jeannie. Okay, I'm back.
Napoli, hang on. Let me make sure. Okay, you got consent.
Hi, Jeannie, how are you? I think I missed the vote.
I'm just backing up here. Oh, yes. Senate Bill 932, an act concerning an Alliance District Teacher Loan Subsidy Program.
Thanks, Jeannie. Representative Napoli will vote yes.
Let me just make sure. Oh, we got one more here. Hang on.
Okay.
Senate Bill 652, an act establishing a tax credit for donations to the Roberta B. Willis Scholarship Program.
Representative Napoli will vote yes.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. Have a great day.
You too, thanks. Hey, Representative, I was just sending you a text. I can stop it.
Jeannie, good morning. Afternoon. Apologies about that. I had to chair commerce at the same time. How you doing?
I notice we always have our meetings at the same time.
Please, I feel so bad. Oh,
it's one of those things.
I know. Oh.
Okay, first we have the consent calendar. Do you want to know all the bills on it?
Do you mind just reading them off?
No, that's okay.
Thanks so much. I just want to make sure
Let me just, probably be easier to read it from the agenda. Okay, first one is item number 2, House Bill 6374.
Can I put you on hold for 1 second?
Oh, sure. Yep.
I'm so sorry. Oh gosh, sorry, Jeannie.
So thanks and kudos to you for that. I see no other questions, so I would like to now invite who is stepping in for Jenny Flintstein.
Okay, never mind. We're all set. Okay.
Okay, so it was item number 2 on the agenda, House Bill 6374. An act concerning sexual misconduct on college campuses.
She was going to use Tammy's.
Item number 4, House Bill 5109, an act prohibiting the charging of graduation fees at public institutions of higher education. Item number 6, Senate Bill 716, an act concerning the Federal Student Loan Borrowers Bill of Rights Act of 2019. Item number 8 was held. And item number 9, Senate Bill 824, an act requiring training for the members of governing boards of the institutions of higher education in the state. Item number 10, Senate Bill 852, an act concerning the Connecticut Health and Educational Facilities Authority and the Connecticut Higher Education Supplemental Loan Authority. Item number 11, Senate Bill 998, an act concerning compiled financial statements for certain private occupational schools. And item number 12, House Bill 6517, that was changed to a JF to the floor instead of appropriations. An act implementing the recommendations of the task force to analyze the implementation of laws governing dyslexia instruction and training. So those were all on the consent calendar.
Yes, Simmons is a yes.
Whoops.
Thanks,
Gotta
thanks
open my
for reading
pen.
those. I just want to review them as you were saying them. Thank you.
And then we have House Bill 5666, an act concerning grants to distressed municipalities for the training of volunteer firefighters.
Yes.
And House Bill 6461, an act implementing the recommendations of the task force regarding prevention and treatment of mental illness at institutions of higher education.
Yes. Simmons, yes.
And Senate Bill 932, an act concerning an Alliance District Teacher Loan Subsidy Program.
Yes. Simmons, yes.
And last one, Senate Bill 652, an act establishing a tax credit for donations to the Roberta B. Willis Scholarship Program.
Yes. Simmons, yes.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Jeannie. Great to see you.
Good to
Take
see you
care.
too. Bye.
Take care. Bye.
Representative Acker. You're on mute, sir.
There you go, Jeannie. How are you?
Doing well, thanks. How are you?
Good, thank you.
So I wanted to tell you that item number 8,
Yep,
House Bill 6235, an act establishing the Learn Here, Heal Here program,
yep.
was being held, so there's no
Okay.
vote on that.
Got you. Thank you.
Okay,
You want to go through them real quick?
sure. Do you,
You got the consent calendar, right?
do you know all the bills on the consent calendar, or do you want me to go over that?
No, I have the bills on the consent.
Okay, I gotta find my copy of the consent calendar.
Yep. No, it's fine.
Gotten things out of order here. Oh, it's behind here. Here it is. Okay. So on the consent calendar.
I am a yes on the consent calendar.
Okay.
Thank you.
And on Senate Bill 652, an act establishing a tax credit for donations to the Roberta B. Willis Scholarship Program.
I'm a no on that one.
Okay.
Thank you.
And House Bill 5666, an act concerning grants to distressed municipalities for the training of volunteer firefighters.
I'm a yes on that. Thank you.
And House Bill 6461, an act implementing the recommendations of the task force regarding the prevention and treatment of mental illness at institutions of higher education.
I'm a yes, absolutely yes.
Thank you. And Senate Bill 932, an act concerning an Alliance District Teacher Loan Subsidy Program.
I'm a yes.
Thank you. And that's it.
Thank you, Jeannie.
You're
See you
good to
next
go.
week.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.